coming up on the Empowered Woman podcast.
And the honest truth is, I feel like finance isn't hard. I feel like I can make it as simple as buying, your next pair of shoes if you're into shoes, or your next book if you love books. Like, I can make this really simple so that you understand this doesn't have to be starched suits and old white guys telling you what to do with your money. It just doesn't have to.
Welcome to the Empowered Woman podcast, the #1 show on visibility strategies for women entrepreneurs. If you want to get empowered to be seen, stand out on social media, stages, TV, and more to make an impact with your voice and business, you're in the right place. I'm so glad that you're here. My name is Marcia Spurk, and I'm your host, professional singer and visibility strategist. Welcome again, and let's dive into today's episode.
Are you feeling stretched thin, constantly behind, or guilty no matter how you choose to spend your time? Amy Pierre Russo can help. She's a certified work-life harmony coach dedicated to helping entrepreneurial moms find ease, flow, and fulfillment while reducing stress, guilt, and burnout. Book your free discovery call today and start building a life that works for you. The link is in the show notes.
Hi, Lorie. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it, Marta.
Yes, of course. I'm excited to hear more about your story and how you're empowering women out there, because I know that's a big thing for you. So why don't you get us started? Tell us who you are and what you do.
Yeah, so my name is Lorie Jones. I am the owner of Fearless Financial Advisors, and I help women who want to take control of their financial future. And Marta, I say want to, but sometimes we do not have a choice. There is a divorce or a death or something that pushes us in this direction where we need to take control of our financial future. And I just want to be the person that's along for that ride.
I love that so much. But now I need the backstory. How did you get into this and focusing on women specifically, and in these transitions or, moments where they're kind of forced to do things and take care of their finances? Tell us more of the backstory.
Yeah, so I started in financial services about 15 years ago. I had 5 kids, and about the time my youngest went to first grade, my oldest 3 boys started eating me out of house and home. Somebody better go find a job around here. So I went back. I wasn't looking for anything. I just wanted something to give me a paycheck, and landed in financial services, a small financial services firm. And I just loved it. Like, I didn't even know this was something you could do with your life. Like, I had been brought up in a house where my dad took care of the finances, and my mom didn't need to worry her pretty little head about that. So my dad didn't really pass on. Now, I'm sure he honestly tried. I was pretty stubborn and, all that sort of thing. So I'm sure he must have tried, but he didn't really give me the tools that I needed to be involved in investing and to understand stock market and stuff like that. And my mom didn't know them, so she couldn't pass them down to me. And so I just came into this world and I loved everything about it. I'm like, so there's a place that you can work where you can make people's dreams come true. You can help them figure out how to reach their goals, and do the things they want to do in life. Sign me up for that. So I started taking some classes. I got all my designations and worked. I left that first firm, worked for Empower Retirement for just a little while, and then a second firm where eventually I was ready to take my spot as a financial advisor. And interestingly, I didn't see a whole lot of women in finance, during that journey. There just isn't. There's probably 20% of us that are financial advisors. You see a lot of them on the sidelines with the admin and stuff like that, but I didn't have a whole lot of examples through those early years of women who were successful financial advisors. So once I figured out that was something that you could do, I took it and ran with it.
That is so awesome. And I love how you describe finance into, helping people fulfill their dreams. That's such a fun way. I don't think I've ever heard anybody saying that because typically especially when you think about, money or, guys in suits, and you're like, it's just all this stuff that I don't understand. And then here you are talking about dreams and helping women, like having a women's take on this whole, blur of money that it just seems so out here, intangible. And that's exactly the shift that you're creating. Tell me more about the transition then into creating Fearless Financial Advisors, and a little bit more about the story behind the name.
Yeah. So, um, I I was ready to, take brand under my own name under Fearless Financial, and it was about, 2 years ago, and I started I started doing a podcast called Fearless Females, and I would ask successful professional women just to share their stories. I just wanted to hear how they became successful. My goal is I had some young women in my business that I really wanted to be successful. I wanted them to really shine and outdo me and just be amazing. And I thought, well, I ran into some problems, a few little glitches and road bumps along my career. It would have been great if someone had given me a heads up. If they had said, hey, you might run into this situation. This is how I handled it. And I thought, well, I could do that for, my team. But I wonder if other women would do that too. I wonder if they would share their experiences and help them maybe avoid some of the mistakes that they had made, or learn from those experiences so they didn't have to go through them firsthand. And so I started asking women for the first year, I just asked them to come in and kind of give a presentation to my little group. And I had 6 women that said yes. And so every other month they would come in and kind of present. And it was only supposed to go for a year. This was, I'm an introvert. This was hard for me. It was so hard. And so when I got to the end of that year, I am like, oh, I just love hearing these stories. I love everything about them. And so I turned it into a podcast, Fearless Females, and I've listened to probably 97 stories now, I think. And out of those 97 stories, each one of these women were fearless in their own way. They were scared to death. They did it anyway. They were brave and they tried it. And I thought, if they can do it, why am I not doing it too? And it gave me the courage, truthfully and honestly, gave me the courage to start Fearless Financial Advisors. I know I'm a good financial advisor. I was scared to do it on my own. And listening to these amazing women, it really helped me to be able to do that.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so many things to unpack. First off, just your heart behind everything and thinking, what can I do to encourage these women? And just what you said, I want them to outdo me. I desperately want these women to be successful. I don't know that there's a lot of people that I have heard saying this, because there's so much competition, and and sometimes we say it, but don't necessarily mean it. But I know just by the way that you're saying it, how much you do mean it, and by your actions as well. And to see how the proportion that it's taken from being, a training in person to then you realizing, man, it's not just my firm. It's more people that need to hear this. And I love what you said. I've gone through some pitfalls. If I had had a heads up, that would have been helpful. But what if I have other women share some of their bumps in the road? And then, all of it. It's so good. And then the other piece is, I was just on your podcast and you interviewed me, and just the way that you describe, your guests and why you do what you do. I am extremely honored that you asked me to share, some of my challenges and my path. Because you're right. And that's why we share stories, is it could help somebody else in some capacity. And at times we feel, it's nothing to it. I just went through a couple things here and there. And it's like, no, this could really make a difference for somebody.
You would be shocked, Marta, how many women I'll ask them if they'll do an interview, and they're like, oh, I don't do anything exciting. I'm not all that cool. I don't know much. I'm just living my life, doing my job. And then you you interview them and you're like, oh my goodness, you are so amazing. Like the things you do in everyday life are so cool, and you don't even know.
Yeah. I have a mentor that always said, and I don't know if this is his quote or somebody else's, but I use it all the time, and it's just something that I hold dear to my heart. He said, "What's ordinary to you, it's extraordinary to somebody else." And that is so true on so many levels, and that's why we share stories. So now I'm super curious about not only your perception when you're interviewing these women, which people will have to go check out the show. So make sure you tell us the name so people can go find it, and we'll have it in the show notes. What are some of the stories, or maybe the heads up that you have been hearing that have been really helpful for you, but also the feedback from your team or even listeners that are like, this really was a game changer. I'm so glad I heard this.
Yeah. So it's Fearless Females by Lorie Jones. And my mom spelled my name weird, so Lorie. And I'll go ahead and give you that link, because I do think that having more people listen to these stories is just amazing.
Yeah.
And I will say that there's some common themes, that I found throughout. One, interestingly, is mentorship. I've had so many people say, get a coach, get a mentor, get a therapist, like they're all in that same area. And I think that the podcast actually helps with that. It's like a mentor that's like virtual, that you can kind of, hey, she went through that. I wonder, how did she do it? How did she handle it? So that's one of the themes. And another one is just, I've been really impressed with the amount of women that are willing and actively want to give back, that they want to share their experiences and their stories. And that if you just ask them a question, like they'll give you, we came up in the industry in a time when sometimes it was not as cooperative as it is now. And I think that as a result, I've heard so many women that are like, I just want to share what I know. I just want to make these these women's lives easier as they're coming up. And I've been so inspired by that. And I will say that, my team and myself, I think that for me, each and every woman that I've interviewed has brought a new something into my life. They've brought a piece of something that I can take with me and use. And whether it's to share that story with someone else who I meet in my networking that's going through that same thing, or whether it's as an example or inspiration. I do a lot of coaching of young women, and I use the experiences of my Fearless Females to kind of help out with that. But I would say that each of my team members finds something specific, things that I didn't even realize. Like there was one woman early on who she was a financial advisor as well. And she talked a little bit about her taking on the breadwinner role and her husband staying home. And one of my team members just really resonated with that. And it didn't hit me in the same way it did her, but she really, like, to this day, a year and a half later, she still mentions that particular podcast. So I think the answer is, Marta, you got to just kind of listen to them all, so you figure out which parts are going to talk to you.
There you go. Got to listen to all the interviews. And that's why we do these interviews anyways, right? Just because everybody has such a unique story and a piece that you just never know what is going to hit you, or how it's going to hit you, and how it's going to impact you years later. I love that. Back to the financial advisors, I do want to hear more about your, how you work with clients, and also for our listeners who may be kind of averse or just not familiar, like you said, because that's a common thing, especially with women. What is some of your advice for them as they're, wanting to fulfill their dreams, like you put it so beautifully? Hey, let me ask you a question. Would you like to be my next guest on the Empowered Woman podcast? Do you have a story you'd like to share? Want more visibility for your business on a show ranked in the top 0.5% in the world? Well, then head on over to martasburke.com/podcast guest for more information.
So I think that, it is kind of scary sometimes. Finance is scary if you aren't familiar with it. And I think that kind of the energy I try to bring to that space is just, I'm not scary. Like, I'll bring snacks, we'll have a chit chat, we'll sit down with a little bit of hot chocolate and just talk about, hey, what's your the same thing I do with my fearless females. Yeah. Where are you running into problems? What's life like? What are you having some issues with? And it doesn't necessarily have to be financial, but just kind of getting to understand who you are and what you need. Like, your problem, maybe you've got, 5 kids and you need a night off every once in a while. Like, so that's not technically finance, but paying for the babysitter or something like that is, So I think that I can make it more approachable, that I make it a little bit more fun. And the honest truth is, I feel like finance isn't hard. I feel like I can make it as simple as buying, your next pair of shoes if you're into shoes, or your next book if you love books. Like, I can make this really simple so that you understand this doesn't have to be starched suits and old white guys telling you what to do with your money. It just doesn't have to be. So I think that when you come to work with me, you get more of a BFF, more of a girlfriend vibe, more of a let's sit down and just chat. And then as you start kind of putting those plans together and watching as we work through the years, how the little steps that you make compound, both, as compounding interest does, like your good decisions, your plans, your good the good ways that you do things, they compound over time. And pretty soon your dreams are coming true. You are taking that vacation with your whole family that you've always dreamed of. And I think that's something really important, getting down to what you need and what you want. Because sometimes it's different than what your husband needs or your husband wants.
Yeah. And it's hard to even ask yourself. I don't think we ask ourselves that question. So working with somebody that will ask you these questions and make it less intimidating. So basically, what I got out of everything that you're saying is it doesn't have to be intimidating. And imagine that it doesn't have to be scary. So you can be fearless and handle your finances. Now, I'm curious about, a client story, a story or two that comes to mind where you were able to support. Well, you gave some examples of, the family vacation, or you need a night off. What are some client stories that you can share with us about the, transformations?
So I work a lot of times with women who are in transition, and divorce is one of those big transitions. There's a lot more women who are they don't really have a whole lot to do with their finances. They let someone else take care of them. And I have very strong opinions on people should be, male or female, you really should understand this underpins your entire future. You should really at least be involved in it. But they have, and it's hard when they're separating, and it is the worst hard thing that has happened to them in their life. One of the most heartbreaking transitions that they have. And they have to learn how to deal with finance. They have to learn how to deal with investing. They've got an IRA or a 401k that they're taking over, and they've just let someone else handle it. I remember talking to a woman who had just gone through a divorce, and she's like, Lorie, do you think I can even do this? And I'm like, yes, absolutely. 100% you can. Yeah. And you're going to be brilliant at it. This isn't hard. It isn't difficult. It's just, you need a friend to help you through it. Wow. And I find that with, as women want to take a piece of that finance. They realize that, it's kind of not fair to make one person in the relationship deal with all of the investing anyway. And so as they come in and they're like, okay, I don't really want to know this, but can you explain it in a way that maybe I will be a little bit interested? And we try that. We do some of those things. So, and sometimes it's just like finding out what they're interested in and then speaking it to their financial future in that way. And 10 years down the road, they've made enough good decisions that they are doing their dreams are coming true. And whether it's just the dream of pure stability and knowing that they've recovered through this difficult transition and they are now fully aware of where their retirement is and how to handle it, or they're just taking a more active role in being a part of that the finance discussion. They show up to meetings.
Yeah, I love that. It really depends on their goals and what they're going through. It's a very individual journey. So how can people work with you? Is it a yearly commitment? How does it work?
Yeah, so I work with people on an assets under management. So basically, they come in, we chit chat, we talk about what they have invested. We make a plan to kind of how we're going to get to where they want to go, and then I will take their accounts that they have, their IRAs, their individual accounts, their Roth accounts, and trust me, I'm a person who loves Roth accounts, so there will be one involved somewhere if we can at all help that. And then I'm paid based on how much they invest with me.
Okay.
And I do I reach out on a regular basis if I see, like, we've recently had some new tax legislation come through. And so I'll reach out to my clients and I'll be like, hey, this stuff came through. These are some new provisions. I think this one might pertain to you. Let's talk about it, so that they don't have to. I've discovered that I like delving deep into financial changes way more than most people do.
Hence why you do what you do, right?
Yeah. So I'll do all the hard work and the delving into those new legislations and stuff like that. And then send you out just a little reminder. Hey, guess what? Mm-hmm. Let's get together, have a coffee, and I'll just tell you what came down and see if you have any questions.
That's great. So you stay up to date, and then you can pass it on in as much detail as the person will want to receive, because like I said, not everyone is super interested, and that's all right, because you're the professional. That's the perks of having somebody that knows what they're doing in your corner. So you do offer a free session. Tell us more about that, and I'll make sure and put that in the show notes as well.
Yeah, a free consultation. It's just a chit chat, 30 minutes to say, hey, this is what I've got. These are the problems that I'm dealing with. What do you think? And it just kind of is a get to know you. There's no expectation. I firmly believe that every single person is entitled to good financial advice. And I've got a lot of credentials behind my name. I've taken a lot of tests, and I've got a lot of letters behind my name, and I can give, good financial advice. And so even just, hey, do I need a financial advisor? Mm-hmm. Okay, I want to start saving for college. I don't have enough to be a client yet, but help me down this path. Like, what can I do to start out? And we can have that talk. I love having that talk.
It sure sounds like it. So I love that. I hope listeners will take you up on that. So we talked about the podcast. We talked about this consultation where it's a chit chat. And although it's virtual, they can bring their hot chocolate. I love that you said, I'll bring snacks. I'll make it fun. It won't be intimidating. And you do have an event coming up. I want to hear about that.
Yeah, I'm super excited about this. So I've been talking to a lot of people that have had transitions. One of the most popular in my industry is a transition into retirement, but you have a lot of times where people will start a new career and they have a transition, or we talked about, the divorce situation and a transition. And a lot of times afterwards, and I see this most prevalently in retirement, but they feel like they're not done yet, but they've sort of lost purpose. Like they don't know how to find purpose in this next step, in this transitional period. And so we've put together a really great lineup of presenters. We're talking about finances, which is my favorite, obviously. But we're talking about your health, like, how to think about your mental health and your physical health during this time. And what about like job skills or new retirement phases, or new job phases, if you're still looking at that. We've got a panel and some speakers. It's called I'm Not Done Yet. And I would love everyone to sign up and come see us and just see what you can get out of this, because I feel like we're not done yet. Like, I don't care if you're 70 years old. I just don't think you're done yet.
I love that name. So is it going to be in person? What's the date?
Yeah, September 26th. It's about 9:00 until 1:00. And then between 1 and 2, we'll do lunch and networking. And it is an in-person event. It's down at the Parker Event Center. So I will give you the link so that you can all sign up for it.
Amazing. I'll make sure and put that in the show notes. Well, thank you so much for sharing all this amazingness. Before I have you tell us how people can connect with you, I like asking all my guests my $1 million question. Are you ready?
Oh, yes. I love $1 million.
Yes, me too. Lorie, what is an empowered woman to you?
An empowered woman is someone who knows that she can take charge of herself and her future. And she is doing it. And she may be scared. This empowered woman, she might be just a little bit scared of the journey that she's on. But she's going to get her posse, her group, her team, and she is going to try. Because I just don't think you can be empowered unless you are working and trying for it, and you're being a little bit fearless.
So true. And this makes me think about when you were sharing about a client. I think we've all been there, whether saying it or having somebody come to us and say this, especially as mentors, and saying, do you really think I can do this? And then having someone tell you, absolutely. And being that person that says that to others as well. But we all have those moments where it's like, I don't think I can handle this next chapter.
Yeah. I didn't sign up for this. This wasn't where I wanted to be. Yeah. This isn't what I wanted to do. But I can do it.
Yes, absolutely. With support, right? With the help of their network. Oh, that is so good. Thank you so much for sharing your story, your expertise, all of the amazing things. How can people connect with you?
So the easiest way is my website, fearlessfinancialadvisors.com. There's probably 20 links that say connect now, book appointment, talk to me. There's all my information, including, my email address is there. So just go to the bottom of every page or click the link. I am always available. And I really do feel like, we're a community. Women trying to help other women grow. Strong women empower women, right? So reach out.
So good.
I'll help.
That's amazing. Well, thank you for the work that you're doing out there, encouraging women. It really shows that you care and that you're passionate about it. So I appreciate you coming on the show as well.
Thanks, Marta. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thanks so much for tuning in today. I hope this episode empowered you. And if you enjoyed the show, please join the Empowered Woman community on Facebook and share with friends or leave a review on iTunes so more people can discover this empowering message. Until next time, bye.